Good evening and welcome. You're watching Newsbreak with me, Sanjay Hegde. First, let's give you the news story on which we are going to have a short discussion. So what has exactly happened? You see, now in Karnataka, there is a fact-checking unit also known as an FCU. The Congress government in Karnataka has cleared the formation of this unit only last week. This unit has been deemed essential to counter fake news. Now, members of this committee and the government feel that fake news is responsible for weakening of the democracy. Fake news results in polarization of society. Posts and reports tagged as fake will be taken down, and the government can also take penal measures against fake news. That is action according to the IPC. The Congress has earlier opposed a fact-checking by the centre. So that is the key point. And that is the point that we are coming to. That this seems to be a leaf out of the centre's playbook. You see, the Press Information Bureau at the centre had a fact-check unit which is already in action. The unit is supposed to flag false online content about the union government. The unit takes suo motu action or acts on citizen queries. Content which is flagged as fake or misleading is then taken down. So this is a central government initiative. They take down posts, block the URLs. Otherwise, if people don't do that, then they are bound to face legal action. The unit so far has busted, the central government's unit, has busted 1,276 such cases of fake news since November 2019. But now we have a fact check of the state government in Karnataka. Now the Editors Guild of India has raised a red flag on this latest state-specific fact-checking unit. The guild has warned against the fact-checking under sole authority of the executive, which according to the guild also applies to the centre. The power to decide what's fake and what's to be taken down cannot be with the executive. There is a problem of misinformation and fake news, especially online. Efforts to identify and remove fake content must be independent. Fact-checking by government can become tools to clamp down on dissent. It is speaking in the context of Karnataka fact-checking unit. Monitoring framework must ensure press freedom not tampered with. The guild urges Karnataka to specify the scope and powers of the fact-checking unit. The guild calls for a consultation exercise with press organizations. The guild refers to a plea against IT rules amendments in the Bombay High Court. Now, this IT rules of 2023 proposes fact-checking unit under the union government, but the same provision has been used by the Karnataka government to come up with its own state-specific fact-checking unit. In this context, we ask a very pertinent question, that in this war of fact-check versus fact-check, a tit-for-tat fact-checking sort of an arrangement, is the Congress exhibiting some sort of a double standard, that they want their own fact-checking center in their state, whereas they will oppose a fact-checking which is being done by the center. And there should be only one rule or one idea behind what they are saying. What does the Congress say? It opposed the draft IT rules that proposed a fact-checking unit under the center. Now they have one in Karnataka. They accused the Modi government of muzzling the internet and vile censorship. The PIB, they said, was taking down content which might not suit the Modi government. Proposal smacks of Orwellian Big Brother syndrome. The Modi government has anointed itself as judge, jury and executioner. The government wants full control of online content and regulation. Now this is the Congress's position as far as the central government's fact-checking unit is concerned. However, this does not seem to be the same position in case of a Karnataka-specific fact-checking unit. So the big question that we are asking is, object in New Delhi, execute in Bengaluru. Is this a case of the Congress party's double standards on fact-checking? Let's quickly kickstart a discussion right here on the channel. Lavanya Baral is the General Secretary of the Media and Communications and spokesperson of the Congress. Madhu N. Rao, spokesperson of BJP Karnataka. Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swaraj magazine. And Maya Sharma, senior journalist. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us. Let me first try and go across to the journalists for their view. Maya Sharma, I want to begin with you first. How can concerns about fact checking be different for the center and be very different when it comes to your own state government? If there is a concern of its misuse, it will remain everywhere.
The concern is valid. Fake news, online deception has really vitiated the society in which you live. It's definitely a problem. It definitely is a problem, and I do believe that there should be some sort of regulation, because sometimes the results of that misinformation of fake news can be fatal, can disturb the peace, can cause grief and real disharmony. So I believe there should be some sort of regulation. But like we have regulation for the Broadcast Association also, self-censorship. Now, self-censorship doesn't seem to be working. And in fact, that very word censorship is a very frightening word for any news organization, any news portal, television, print, online. The word censorship is really sneaking in when you're coming to talk about these fact-checking units. It is important to check facts. It is very important. We've all as journalists chase fake news, knowing it's fake news, but having to show that, no, this is not true. This is the reality on the ground. It's a hugely important task, but can it be left to the executive? Can it be left to the state government in a particular state? No. Can it be left just to the central government? No. It has to have other people as well who are looking at this, whether it's media houses, whether it's lawyers, whether it's maybe enlightened members of the public as well, who can be part of this fact-checking unit. I do believe that there is a need to control fake news, a need to crack down on fake news. But as you were pointing out, it can't be one rule for the center, and the strong criticism of the Congress of the center's move doesn't seem to be applying to what they're doing.
My bigger concern is this form of retaliatory fact-check units. Like, for instance, I look at this as a state version of what was opposed by the Congress, or they accused the center of doing. And they have done a state version of exactly the same. Tushar Gupta, what is your view?
Good evening, Sanket. Look, I'm worried about two specific things here. What is actually defined as fact check? How do you define what is a fact or what is an opinion? Because in the media circuits of India, a lot of overlap exists. What we are having right now is a discussion and opinion. Now, if you cover something on the ground, say something related to a state government program, and you try to point out the gaps or the failures of it, would it also constitute as fake news? Because the Congress's reasoning in Karnataka is that we want to curb the menace of fake news because it leads to polarization within the society. It threatens the ethos of democracy. However respectable the intent is, I do not understand where the Congress is trying to draw the line. If Sanket tomorrow or me tomorrow, if Mayaji tomorrow says, we are going to do a ground report in Karnataka and point out that there is a village where the freebies of the Congress government have not been delivered, would that constitute as an opinion, as a reportage, or as fake news, because that threatens perhaps the law and order of that state? And we have seen a lot of state governments misusing this during the pandemic, when there were a lot of news portals trying to highlight the crisis or the migrant crisis and things like that. So that's my number one worry. Number two, the Congress or any other state government is very well within its right to point out what a fake news is. They can have releases, they can do things like that. But to have a retaliatory fact check, I just don't understand the intent here. So yes, they may want to say that we just want to ensure that the right information reaches the public in terms of numbers, in terms of schemes, in terms of who said what. But my worry is that the overlap will be on the opinion part, and it might lead to censorship. That's where my worry is, Sanju.
Okay. Lavanya Balal, I want to come to you now. Should one call this a reciprocal fact-check unit, a tit-for-tat fact-checking unit, a sort of a system where the Congress had concerns when the centre did it, but has no such concern or query when you yourself are doing it in your own state government? Just help me understand what your official position is vis-a-vis fact-check units. Why is it that the same things that you accuse the centre of doing, you will not end up doing yourself?
Good evening, Sanket. It's a very valid question that you're raising. We need to look into the history of this fact-checking unit as well. So in 2017, Karnataka government had framed cybersecurity laws, one of which was also the disinformation busting unit. Let us not keep saying fake news. There's a difference between fake news and disinformation. So this is to curb the disinformation. And it was framed in such a way, it mentioned in 2017 very clearly by the then IT minister, who was Priyank Kharge, who is also the IT minister currently, that this law will be reframed, redrafted once every 5 years, because media or social media, which sends messages to people in the speed of light, actually faster than TV and all other medias, it keeps changing. It is very volatile and it keeps changing, so it has to be redrafted once in every 5 years. But the previous government did not redraft this law. Now, when we are talking about framing this law, let me be very clear. The CM has just given permission to frame this unit or form this unit. We have not formed the unit. We have not formed the standard operating procedure. And of what little I know, because I've been a part of it, it very clearly states there will be citizen partnership with the people, with the department, which will look into the complaints that is raised by the citizens, and only if it is disinformation, which will be channeled to the next department, which is supposed to take care of disinformation, which might create disharmony in the state. And also, Sanket, let me be very clear. We have seen how disinformation has created a huge problem in Karnataka in the last few years, and how investments have gone down in the IT sector in our state because of the lack of trust the IT companies have in Karnataka, or the Karnataka government's ability to maintain law and order in the state. Look at Paramesh Mehta's case. The channels, a lot of channels actually discussed about the imaginary wounds on Paramesh Mehta's body that was created by the BJP troll army. And it never went back and discussed the CBI report, which came about a year ago, which matched the police report. So what happens in people's mind? What remains in their mind? They remember only the debates that went on all channels, including national channels, about the misinformation.
Lavanya Balal, if you allow me, you have made your case for a state-specific fact-check unit, but my question remains. When the PIB came up with its fact-check unit, the Congress party's position was that this could possibly be an attempt to muzzle any anti-government view. And thus, it throws open a possibility for its misuse by the central government. Why should the same allegation not be made against the Congress-led Karnataka government?
Because, Sanket, what we are doing is very different from the way the PIB has been formed by the central government. That is the basic bottom line. We are not here to curb URLs.
No, but then it's your word against theirs.
We are not here to block
If I ask the BJP, they will say the same thing. We are all for freedom of speech.
By example, Sanket, you have seen what the central government has already done. This existed from 2017. So have you seen in that span of 2017 to 2018 that the Karnataka government has blocked any URL? Have we suspended internet in any part of Karnataka? We have not.
Okay, I think we'll have to wait to see what you do with a fact-checking unit like this. But Madhu and Rao, and then Mr. Sanjay Hegde. Mr. Rao.
Sanket, good evening. I think I heard them at length. My only point is this. Let me make two important points. There was a comparison which was drawn, of course, to the central government rules as well as with respect to what has happened in Karnataka. Now, let me tell you one thing. What is happening in Karnataka is a targeted witch hunt, and let me repeat it. It's a targeted witch hunt. Point one. Point two. Why, you may ask me? See, in the central government, rules have been amended to the Information Technology Act and its rules. And also the PIB, which comes under the Press Information Bureau, they are aware of what is correct news, what is not correct news, so to say. But now look at in Karnataka, they are trying to make a fact-check unit, having police officials in order to ensure and instill fear among those who have actually not done that. And this only came up only when the Karnataka government were not able to implement their schemes. At that point of time, all these issues came up. Let me give you one example only, not to take much time. You know, there was an issue of B.R. Patil letter which was given. I think everyone are aware of it. He came out on record to say that it is a fake news. They set up a committee, they set up a police investigation, so to say, on that. And then he came and told, no, it is a correct news. There was a letter which was there. But the Congress party told, no, it's a fake news. And the MLAs told, no, it's a correct news. It's a letter which we have signed. So therefore, the point is only so much. In Karnataka, as what is done by the central government, they are not being doing. What they are trying to do is, they are trying to bring in under the Home Ministry, under the police officials. They have had discussions with the Home Ministry as well as the police officials in order to ensure that a criminal action is taken against such things. I can give you 15 examples because 15 such cases have been hoisted in Karnataka is of that sort. I can give you a lot of examples.
No, Mr. Madhu and Rao, you see, it's very rich on the part of all political parties in power to preach to the others when in their respective states they are doing exactly the same. Mr. Sanjay Hegde, do you feel that this should be a subject matter beyond just a Karnataka or a UP or even the centre, but a larger point on the possible misuse of these fact-checking units, irrespective of governments?
There can be both use as well as misuse.
Yeah.
The point is that if the central government has a gun, then the other governments will also get similar guns. I would say that both sides should not have them. You should not have a central unit, nor should the state do it. But if the center does it, then the states are perfectly within they have the same kind of policing powers, don't they? And if there are multiple fact-checking units, what will also happen is that if there is selective fact-checking, that only fake news of one side is singled out by one unit, the other unit will equally well take action against the other fake news purveyors.
So you are saying this will help round things up?
It will certainly round things up.
Okay.
I do not think that these ministries of truth should exist. But if it exists at one level, it will be replicated
That's a nice
at all
name
levels.
you have given it. Very nice.
George Orwell gave it. George Orwell gave it.
Yes.
Yeah. Maya Sharma, do you feel that Sanjay Hegde could possibly have a point? That if there is one fact-check unit, let there be many others to round things up?
But I think he's also using it in the context of, if you have a gun, then I will have a gun too, and we don't want rampant guns being available to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
The concern is, does this monitoring become censorship? That is always such a very, very tricky thing. Is fake news something the government doesn't want to hear? So in an ideal world, yes, we should not have any kind of restrictions like this. Posts should not be taken down from media portals or from television. And there should not be a government department, whatever you call it, the FCU this one is. There should be no department at the centre or at the state which has the strength to take down things that the media has reported. But if there is fake news, there should be an agency which is able to call on that, to call people to account, to stop the spreading of hate, fake news in that way. But it should not be a government department. It should be another kind of setup. We are, of course, still waiting for details from Karnataka to actually see how the FCU will actually function, who will be part of it. But it should not be just left to any government, because governments keep changing. And it can't be left to the government, state or central, to decide what is fake and what isn't.
Exactly. Lavanya Balal.
Yeah, Sanket, Maya Sharma was talking about how there should be an independent body to govern this. Exactly. And that is going to be part of this unit in Karnataka. It is going to be part of citizen-driven endeavor in Karnataka. Also, Mr. Madhu was talking about this unit in Karnataka and how the police will get involved. Let me remind everybody here, disinformation in India and across the globe has led to tragic events like lynching of people. It has happened in Maharashtra, it has happened in Brazil, it has happened in different parts of the world. So when disinformation leads to tragic events, the police, of course, has to get involved. Because disinformation, let's not keep saying fake news. There's a difference between fake news, there is a difference between misinformation and disinformation. Let's clearly say it is disinformation. Like yesterday, there was a BJP blue tick account which comes on my Twitter and says, Lavanya Balal is a pimp. Now, is it misinformation? It is very appalling for me, but is it misinformation? Absolutely. So how do I take action? I cannot. But if there is an information that is being spread on WhatsApp or any other social media, of course the social media giants have their own checks in place, but we know, we have read the report of how Facebook failed to remove inflammatory speeches from their platform, correct? So we also need to protect our citizens. Our goal in Karnataka is to protect our citizens from all these events or what might happen or communal disharmony that might be created because of disinformation. Let me be very clear, it's not fake news, it is disinformation.
Okay, here is my question, my counter question. Lavanya Balal, you see disinformation and misinformation in many cases, you and the Congress and the BJP have accused one another of generating this misinformation and disinformation, right? As you just mentioned, that's your allegation. Now, is this an attempt to stop government promoted or politically promoted misinformation? Or in effect, is this process going to become a punishment for anyone who tries to speak against governments?
Sanket, this is to remind everybody who uses social media or media, consumes and uses it, that if you are misusing this media, then there will be repercussions, because when you're misusing a platform, there are repercussions.
Yes, one moment, Mr. Gupta, I'll come to you. One moment. Yes. Madhu Rao first and then Mr. Gupta.
Yeah,
Madhu Rao's political response, please.
Yeah, if I break the law, Sanket, then there will be repercussions for that, correct? The same applies to this new media as well, which is compared to other mainstream media, so quite young. So we need governing bodies.
Sanket, my point is only simple. If there is a fake news, it must be correct. Point one. But the irony, what is happening in Karnataka is, I would call it as mother of ironies. Look at the state government. They want to curb the fake news with the help of alt news, or so to say, such news agencies, which has a history of spreading fake news and for fighting misinformation. This is like joining hands with false news to punish fake news. It's like US joining with Pakistan to fight terror. This should not happen. Please, I didn't interrupt, please. The point is, the only point I want to make is this. Let there be an agency to check properly as to whether it is fake or not fake. And please do not police it in such a way that you are instilling fear, as what is happening in Karnataka is what I want to say. Unlike what has happened in the central government, whereas the press information bureau is there, they know what is fake news, they know what is not a fake news. So,
no, Mr. Madhu Rao, please realize,
by instilling a policing action,
there have been, the Congress has raised allegations of this super boss sort of central government fact-checking unit.
Sanket,
so
let
why,
me ask you one question.
It's a case of my fact-checking unit is better than yours.
Sanket,
yours
let
will
me ask you one question.
Yeah.
What would you tell Mr. Digvijay Singh, who told ISRO scientists have not been paid salaries? What do you call that? And what action would you take on that? Is it not fair? It is defamatory. What would you call all those things? Therefore, to say, I am only trying to tell, please let there be an agency to identify perhaps what is fake and what is not fake.
Okay, Tushar Gupta, very quickly. I'm running out of time. Tushar Gupta and Sanjay Hegde. Tushar Gupta,
I'm not sure.
The point that Sanjay Hegde meant, or the point that Sanjay Hegde made, is that there should be no agency. But now that we have one at the center, might as well have one in states. So that if there is selective fact checking at one level, it can be checked by another agency.
Too many fact-checking websites will absolutely lead to nothing. There is no fact-checking website on this planet, given the quantum of data there is on the internet, that can claim that we can thoroughly fact-check everything there is on the internet. But I'm worried specifically by what the Congress spokesperson said. She's already starting with the labels like BJP troll army, and I was okay until it was about fake news. Now she's saying misinformation. So tomorrow, if I am to make an economic argument that development in Karnataka will suffer or could suffer because of freebies, by the Congress spokesperson's logic, I'm a part of the BJP troll army, and because I'm spreading misinformation, there should be legal repercussions against me. Now, this is the overlap. This is the censorship I have a problem with. You cannot stop people from voicing their concerns in the garb of saying that it spreads misinformation or it impacts the harmony on the ground. This is just a tool to impose censorship on well-meaning people. That's all.
Okay, Mr. Hegde, please.
Sanket, I need to quickly respond. I'm sorry, Sanjay, I'm taking quickly 10 seconds. I'm so sorry. I have to say, I'm sure all of us know the difference between fact and fiction. I'm sure we are all aware of it, Tushar. And when I meant the BJP troll army, I was just giving an example.
Okay, one moment, Mr. Hegde won't be able to weigh in there. Mr. Hegde's last word, please. Yes.
My last word is simply this. Everybody will lie. But if there are specific fake news put out to cause violence, that is where all these units are required. If you pass off something from Bangladesh as happening in India at that moment, and as a consequence there is a riot, whoever did it needs to be punished. And to that extent, these units are absolutely necessary.
Okay, I've run out of time. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Stopping for a short break at this moment. The news up next.